your favorite personalities asking questions that you have sent in. Has the other broadcaster tried to poach you? Will they tell the truth? What do you really know about Saleng and Mofokeng transfer?
Got him.
Or will they face the fire? Welcome to Truth by Fire. Brother,
yeah, finally. Thank you, sir.
Finally. Thanks
sir.
for coming through, bro.
No, it's a pleasure.
I told you, you were requested by the people.
Okay, there are some people who love me. It's good to know because, hey,
Really?
Yeah.
Ish, we'll get into that. I'll ask you a little bit more about that, but the rules are pretty simple.
Okay.
We're going to ask you a question that the people have sent in.
Okay.
If you don't want to answer the question, for whatever reason,
Truth by fire.
Truth by fire.
Okay.
I'll start you off easy and work our way up to
Ease me
what
into
you
it.
feel like is the fire. First things first. What team do you support, bro?
Chelsea.
Wabona here, What team do you support locally?
It's relegated now.
Okay.
I used to support Free State Stars, but there is a team I grew up supporting because of my mom's.
Okay.
Because I'm a mama's boy.
Okay.
But I can't tell you which one.
Okay,
Okay,
we'll let this one slide.
let this one slide because
Okay.
I did have a team, but it got relegated. It was Free State Stars.
So with that being said, I'm very interested to know. It's not a question that people sent in, but how did this journey come about of you going into sports journalism?
It was by chance. I actually studied at Wits University. I was doing politics, international relations, sociology. I wanted to be a diplomat.
Okay.
But then I met a diplomat who was from the US to South Africa, and he'd done it for 30 years. And I had a heart-to-heart, and he said it takes quite a long time,
Okay.
My final year at Wits, someone said, hey, don't you like football? Don't you like sports and reporting and whatever? And gave me an application to do a graduate program of some sort it was called Avusa Media at the time. I think it's called Arena Holdings now. So I ended up interning there for a year, and then they gave me a contract, but I was supposed to be a news reporter because obviously my background, politics, whatever. And I did that for 6 months. And then I was dodging bullets, Kaya Sense. There was that during that xenophobic attack stuff, dodging rubber bullets and whatever. And I'm like, no, guys, look at this face. I was like, look at this face. Tsadi rubber bullets and whatever. And then the sports editor, they just started the Times newspaper, and it was fairly new. They didn't have a football writer, and they were like, "Hey, young guy." Luckily, as someone who followed sport, I played sport at school and at varsity. They said, "Don't you wanna?" And now I'm a journalist. They were like, "Don't you wanna start reporting football?" I said, "Hey, by all means." So I started doing sports reporting in general, and then sort of being pushed towards being a football reporter. This was in 2008. That's when I started.
Okay, so you played football as well?
I played varsity level and like national colors. Okay. So I was there consistently because my dad, he's a teacher. He's actually, he doesn't get a lot of credit. My dad discovered Teboho Mokoena.
Really?
Yeah, my dad discovered Teboho Mokoena at school.
That is wild.
I watched Teboho Mokoena play when he was like 12, 13.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola
I think you've mentioned it in one of your interviews with him.
Yeah. So, that's the first time I met Teboho. Yeah. And, and I've known him ever since because he was very close with my dad. Even now, still very close with my dad.
Yeah. Okay. Next question is, how do you juggle marriage and traveling so much? Because you move quite a lot following the sport. You're like you are our very own Fabrizio, if not bigger.
I appreciate that, man.
How do you juggle that, bro?
Yeah, it is tricky. I tend to think I'm home quite a lot, but if you ask my wife and kids, they have a different opinion. Yeah, they disagree. And I'm like, no, I take the kids to school every morning. Yeah. I do their extramural activities. Yeah. I'm just not around like major tournaments. I see. And maybe a lot of the weekends because some of the games are away and things like that. Yeah. But I always feel like I'm home quite a lot, but they don't think so. So I try to like have, because I have girls, 9 and 11. Yeah. We do daddy-daughter dates, going out a lot, whatever. That's what I'm saying.
Present days.
Yeah, taking them to school, picking them up, their extramural activity, that all falls on me. And of course with the missus as well. dates, but most of the time I try to take them with, if I can.
Really?
You know, I try to take like for instance now, breaking news. With the Africa Cup of Nations, they are coming with.
Oh,
for the entire.
You heard it here first.
For the entire 3 weeks in Morocco.
That's dope.
So I'll be there for a month, but the first 3 weeks they'll be with me.
They'll be there,
you know, because I said I can't spend the holiday season on my own.
Of course.
In a foreign country.
Of course,
you know? And I figured, school is closed. The missus can take leave from work. Let's go. You know. So.
Okay. Next question says, do you think SA football industry does not respect Coach Gavin Hunt?
Yes and no. I think there's a new age era that gravitating towards more technology. And I think also...
Is this from a player perspective or like coaching staff or the industry as a whole?
No, I think maybe like the public.
Yeah.
Because the coaches in and around Gavin will say, you know, and he will say, I embrace modern technology. You know, maybe he has people around him that can help him with that stuff because he's still a traditionally old coach in terms of his methodology and in terms of how he wants to run a dressing room. Yeah. But he's got other younger guys. That's why when you see his bench in the teams that he's been, it's guys that are former players that are embracing the modern trends. That's so how can the guy not embrace modern trends when he's got guys that have just finished playing and he's helping mentor them, and he listens to them as well because he's brought them as his backroom staff, you know. And then, you know, there's that part where people are like, no, simply because of his age. Think about it this way. If Coach Hugo would become a club coach, you know, he might also face the same criticism simply because he's in his 70s. And they're like, Madala must rest now. I think it's disrespectful to him simply because of his age. He does not embrace, you know, look around the world. How many, I mean, Roy Hodgson, how old is Roy Hodgson? And he was still coaching at the highest league in the English Premier Division. So it's disrespect really to say the coach is finished.
Okay. Next question says, has the other broadcaster ever made an offer or tried to poach you?
But
this one is not bad. Dynamitically but it's not bad. Stop the cap.
Got it. Yeah, this is fire. But I like hot stuff. So
Okay. Next question is, who do you think is the most poorly managed club?
It'd have to be Polokwane City, in my opinion. They can do better. They can do better. It's difficult to get interviews. It's difficult to get a hold of someone there at the club. Because I know even my Polokwane colleagues struggle with, like, I mean, if you're there, if you're around the corner, for instance, there's a lot of Chief stuff happening here in Joburg. There's a lot of Pirate stuff happening in Joburg. There's TS Galaxy. You can just call the media officer and say, can I come do interviews with the coach and players? Pull through. Pull through. But Polokwane City, only when there's cup competitions. And if only if you have media days, like at Polokwane City, there's Carling Knockout, or there's a Betway Premiership fixture, or there's Nedbank Cup at MTN 8, because then they are mandated to host the media. You know,
by the league.
By the league. The PR company actually goes there and says you have to sit down with the media. You've got a big game coming up. Other than that, none of that happens. So from that point of view, I'd say, from a media element, I would say a poorly run from a media element. You know, you'd have to ask the players about everything else in between. You know, but I remember there are coaches in the past who've said, at Polokwane City, I was a coach, a fitness trainer, masseuse, and the ice boy. You know, you can't have that at this level. You know,
that's crazy. Okay. Next question is, which colleague do you find to work with most difficult? I'm guessing, I'm going to paraphrase that or rephrase that rather. Which colleague do you find difficult to work with?
I can't name and shame. I can't name and shame. Yo, this industry. I can't name and
like
shame.
You said, it you know, for you getting into the industry, it was, you know, not something that you planned to get into, but you found yourself in the industry and you made a name for yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you don't want to be stepping on the wrong toes.
No, like also I don't want to, if I've got a problem with someone,
Yeah.
I'd rather speak to them Madala side instead of on the socials. Give a hammer.
Say, I want to go truth by fire.
Yeah, say, this guy has a problem with me,
Yeah.
But of course, we've got our squabbles in the fraternity, as you would know. But I'm not gonna name and shame here.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you're because at least we got something.
Yeah.
Okay, if you were to coach a local team, which one would it be and why?
I'd coach Mamelodi Sundowns.
Really?
Yeah, I think I would win the league then.
But that's an obvious one. It's like
no, I think because I don't have coaching credentials.
Yeah.
But if you give me a team, I
want one that
I want the one. I want one where I don't have to do too much work. And I'm not
you.
saying the coach there are not doing anything, but I'm just saying
it
feels like ready-made. I can get there. I don't have to change too much.
Yeah.
I say, guys, the other guy, do what he was doing.
I'm just here.
I'm just here for vibes. Win the league.
Okay.
I feel like they're ready and they've got the budget.
Yeah.
I can say Kibatla ole.
Yeah.
And then they'll get them for me. So I'll be good to go.
Speaking of budgets, do you think that's Mamelodi Sundowns' secret weapon? Is it because they pour so money into getting your Brazilian players and we hear that when they win a tournament they share it amongst the players.
Yeah. It's a policy. It's actually a policy in the players' contracts.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That they must get a share of tournament tournament wins or bonuses or whatever the case may be.
Do you think that's the winning formula? Is that what they're doing that other clubs are not doing that's making them perform so well?
Half and half. Because once you've got the budget to buy the best, you are going to be the best. Sundowns average. I did an article a few years ago where the stats show that they average 100 million a season on transfers.
That's more than a week.
They spend 100 million a season on transfers, and you end up getting it back by going to a Club World Cup, for instance, where the kitty there just for an appearance fee, I think was almost 200 million or something like that they were getting in their pocket. So. You buy the best. They bring in players from Europe to come back home, and those players, once they get to this level, they've played at an even higher level. So they are gonna boss it. They're gonna walk. They're gonna walk it. That's why 8 years in a row they were able to win the league. I think Pirates now are taking them on pound for pound because Pirates have somehow also found a formula to beat them to the best players. Oswin-Apollis, players.
That was a big one.
Yeah, that was a big one because everybody, Chiefs, Pirates, and Sundowns wanted Oswin-Apollis.
Yeah.
But it's Pirates who got him.
Okay. This is the last question.
Yeah.
What do you really know about Saleng and Mofokeng transfer? No PR training answer.
Got him.
So let's start with Saleng before we go to Mofokeng.
Yeah.
Because Mofokeng is specifically about a transfer.
Okay.
So Saleng, what's the story? You're the best guy to tell us.
Yeah. So this is my understanding that there was a clause in the player's contract about some type of compensation, but it would come in a manner of an investment of some sort. Maybe let's say Lemii, here's a contract, but at some stage in your contract, Gaya, for argument's sake, it's confidential. I can't say the numbers necessarily. Gaya 50,000, but 50K ro regular or regular something. We're gonna invest it somehow or whatever in giving you an asset.
Yeah, it wasn't a Woolies bag.
It wasn't a Woolies bag as such.
Yeah.
But my understanding is that, and the parents sort of. I'm sure you saw that part where I asked the agent to say, "Hey,
that's another one that was a bit evasive."
Yeah, because I was coming from the angle that, but the parents went.
They spoke.
They went to
took their picture.
They went to Sunday World.
Yeah.
And they said, "Hey, wanarona hatoli chelete whatever." And what I'm gathering is that the parents didn't understand how that was structured. They thought. But it was in lieu of an asset for the player, which in the long term helps him plan for the future.
I see.
Football is a very short career. could walk onto the pitch today and something tragic happens and you can't play again. So I feel like the club were taking care of him beyond his playing days. They say, hey, la something at least you got this massive asset that you can reinvest or whatever the case
And it was
may be.
solely the player's asset. It wasn't partly owned by the club.
And I think the parents misunderstood that. And sometimes, you know, and I'm not saying this specifically to Saleng, but I come across a lot of players not understanding the papers that they sign. Basaina fela, ubona fela the number. Wasaina.
Kanta wabona no, it's an investment of
this usainile fela, and then hana kwe ifihla yena uhupula fela or no, but after 2 years ago tola this usaibatla, you know. So I think that was, apart from obviously the mental health issues as well, I think it was also a bit of a misunderstanding with regards to this particular incentive. Itla ili chelete, kapo itla ili something else. That's what I get it. And I think perhaps among other things that obviously even when I tried to push the agent could not disclose, amongst other things that probably played a major role.
And so it's not necessarily any fault of the club. It's not necessarily
let's not exonerate the club. Like I think the club could have handled the matter a lot better.
And you called it out. I think even the agent
I think everybody involved could have handled it a lot better. It shouldn't be taboo. I mean, look at Lyle Foster's scenario at Burnley when the coach and the club came out to say out here sharp, like he's not right at all. He's gonna go to rehab. He's gonna do this. Mzansi.
It was very proactive with Burnley and Lyle Foster.
Yes. You know, as soon as it happened, Burnley came out say, you know, a lot of questions from the media. This is what's happening with Lyle.
Part 2 of the question. Mofokeng. A lot of rumors considering him wanting to make a move to maybe a bigger club or different league, whatever the case may be. I think that question now refers to what's the real story behind it, because if it's a matter of the club not letting him move on to another league or a different club, why are they letting Bonko Tabo TLB, who's now, you know, went to Chicago Fire, but not letting Mofokeng make the transfer if that's what he really wants?
I think because, and I love the fact that in Saudi Arabia and in the MLS, we were able to know the figures. So we know that Nkota was sold for 40 million.
Yes.
We know that Mbokazi has now been sold for 50 million.
Yes.
I can tell you that Pirates have not received an offer above that for really.
Really?
They've not received an offer above that for really.
That's crazy, because you would think it would at least be at the same range.
No, Pirates have
not, for somebody like Real.
Exactly. And I think Pirates will probably feel that Rile's profile, and with all due respect to TLB and Mohau, I think he's got a bigger profile. He should probably 100%. Sell for much more.
100%.
You know, he should sell for much more, if not the same amount of money. And I think it would be a no-brainer for Orlando Pirates. Think about it, in a year, you'd almost make 150 million from selling 3 of your best young assets. You know, and from what I understand, Orlando Pirates are yet to receive an offer for Relay that's better than the 40 million for Mohau and the 50 million for TLB.
That is crazy, because we villainize the clubs so much, saying that they don't want to let the
and I think, and this is what I'm saying. I think we need more transparency in the Premier Soccer League in terms of these. I'm not saying the player but like be more open, confirm when it comes. Confirm, like check. Chicago Fire have even beat Pirates to making an announcement about their own player leaving. Because they
followed afterwards, like literally hours after Chicago Fire had made the announcement.
You know, and also it's the fact that like Mbokazi was just in the US a week before that, signed the contract, and the MLS is going into the start sort of the new campaign, and they feel, no, we've got to make announcements, whatever. They don't waste time. The guy signed last week, the following week he's being announced, you know, with videos and whatever. And I think, yes, our clubs, some of them are trying, but I think they can be, once the offer from Chicago Fire came through, I think in this day and age, confirm we've reached an agreement with Chicago Fire for the sale of Mbokazi. Not like try, hush, no, skabua, hey, kilabona, like, ufonela player, ufonela agent, hey, Mazola, sky ngola, I think we can do a lot better because we are also promoting the game,
Of course.
When I get in trouble with club officials about transfer news, whatever, and I'm like, but guys, you're getting it all wrong.
That happens.
I'm promoting your brand. Yeah, like some club officials, but I'm fonela, usinkile guy story seo, like. And of course, I'll never say who's my source. Sometimes you get a situation where another journal breaks the news, but maybe because of the profile Yabona is not as like maybe like social media following is not as big.
Makes sense.
It's not a big issue. Maybe we should take mang somewhere. Mazola, 100 phone calls. Guy story say but guys. The same. There's another guy who wrote the same story the same time as me. Why is Afoni?
Are the clubs that are hostile towards you because of that?
Not like it's not hostility, but it's like you could have waited. You could have like.
But beyond that, it doesn't. Stadium.
Yeah, and I maybe I could survive in Tate Jonas was Kukune United is on social media, but if he sees this, and I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
When they fired Coach Siema and hired Eric Tinkler, the story was broken by another journalist, but and I'm not disrespecting the journal, but it didn't make like a lot of noise, Then I covered the story on radio and TV, and then I get a call from Tate Jonas. But not like aggressive manner.
Aggressive,
Because I'm still negotiating with my coach because Siema was still in charge. But now you've and you don't.
Had Coach Siema known or he's been
he had not been told yet, but he was hearing in the background, because Coach Tinkler had already signed to start like on the 1st of March. And meanwhile, Coach Siema is still doing media interviews and whatever, but, we all know, this guy, what's because the other guy is already signed to start on the 1st of March. So one phone, but, now this thing, the fans are angry, blah, 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 because now you've reported the story. So but you do remember, I'm not the first guy who wrote the story.
There was another guy that broke the story.
Yeah, and then his words were like, but highly way, and I think it's it's due to the engagement and the platforms. Because make no mistake about it, the SABC is huge, man.
100%.
19 radio stations, linear channels everywhere. So it doesn't matter. And also couple that with my own personal following as well. How do you kopanya? The stories get amplified. So I do get a lot of those to say, babang bakadingola, but then it gains a lot of traction and then it becomes a talking point. So I face a lot of that, and it does make my job harder. So that's how the cookie crumbles, man.
Yo, that's crazy, bro. For someone who's always asking the questions, I'm glad we got you here to be answering the questions. But thank you so much. Which means
I was honest.
You were. I
was honest. Like in a scandal. Clean.
We love that for our favorite journal. And that's how we wrap it up for Truth by Fire.